Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Chamber Talk. It's that time of the year for Christmas, and that usually means Christmas trees and family gatherings and Christmas meals, and part of that Christmas meal involves dessert. And of course, one of the best desserts I can think of for a Christmas dinner or any other dinner is a cookie. And this Christmas season we are visiting at the home of Dick and Debbie Hunt. And we're going to learn a little bit about how to bake cookies. So let's join Debbie, and I can't wait to get to the kitchen. Debbie, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. Welcome.
Thank you. We have been planning this program for 3 or 4 months now, I think. But I think this is the time of the year that I'd enjoy the cookie the best.
I think you would. This is the busiest time of year. It's a good time to come.
Debbie, I imagine the folks would like to know how you got started. I imagine this was a hobby to begin with, baking for your family. So how did it progress from there?
Well, actually, it started when I was at home growing up, and I loved to bake cookies. And my mom would just turn me loose in the kitchen and let me create all kinds of wonderful things. So that's where it began. And then I started baking cookies after I was married, of course, and I would give them to friends. And several friends said, you should go into business. And I thought, oh, I don't want to do that. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe I do, because my children were about at the age where they were going to be leaving home, and I just thought it would keep me plenty busy, and it certainly has.
Let's face it, when you started, it wasn't go out and buy the already made cookie dough and put it on a cookie tray and bake it. Where did you get your recipes?
Well, I had two basic recipes that I experimented with, and I would just put different combinations together. I visited several cookie stores up in the Minneapolis area and looked at what combinations they had that sold well, and I came home and I just experimented. And it was a lot of fun and a lot of tasting, and that's how I got going.
So how many recipes do you have now for different varieties?
Okay, I do about 13 different types of cookies.
And they're all your own recipe?
They are.
And what is the most popular cookie that you have, that you think?
Well, I would say chocolate chip.
Chocolate
chip. You
chip.
just can't lose with chocolate chip cookies. It seems like everybody likes those the best.
Did you expand your business in more recent years, or was it, how long have you really been baking the cookies in the quantities that you do today?
Okay. Well, I just started out with one account, of course, and I was doing about 3 dozen a day for this one account here in town, and it just kind of spread by word of mouth. And now I have 4 businesses that I supply, and I do between 32 and 3,500 cookies a week.
A week?
So, yeah, that tells you that it's all been just basically word of mouth.
Now, what time of day do you start baking? How many days a week do you bake?
Well, I start at 4 in the morning, and I bake every day, especially this time of year.
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
And you have a lot of support from Dick. I'm sure he gets up at 4 and helps you bake?
No, he doesn't even know I'm down there doing it. No, my kitchen is downstairs. We'll go there soon, and nope, he doesn't know what's going on.
I can't wait. So how many years has it been now that you've had this business?
I'm in my 11th year.
11th
I started in 1987, and I started on my son's 16th birthday. And it started out as a family affair then. We wanted to come up with a name for my business, and we said, anything that came to your head, we said, we'll consider it, And then we ended up with Cookies from the Heart, and my son designed my logo and my business card for me. So that made us a little special.
And originally, you started baking your cookies in your regular kitchen.
Yes, I did.
I guess we can call it a regular kitchen.
That's
because
right.
It's not a regular kitchen in the basement.
That's right. And I was baking 12 to 14 cookies at a time on one tray. And I quickly realized that this was never going to work. I had flour stacked up to the ceiling in there, and brown sugar and nuts and raisins and coconut and everything. And I finally decided if I was going to stay in this, I had to make some decisions. And that's when I decided to put in a commercial kitchen.
And then how are the cookies distributed?
Well, I deliver most of the commercial accounts, and then the private orders are picked up. And I do mail a lot of cookies. I've actually shipped cookies, I can honestly say, all over the world. I have a customer in England.
Do you have a secret that other parents and grandparents might want to know about on how to pack cookies for shipping?
Pack cookies. Well, I just pack them in like plastic bags and make sure that they're sealed tight. And I always ship second day so that they get there. If you're going to buy cookies for somebody, you want them to get them fresh. And
Sure.
so I always send second day.
You pack them in popcorn or
I
anything
do. I
in the
use
box?
the popcorn, and then I have boxes that go through the mail real well. And
Good. Well, I enjoy sitting here visiting with you, but I'd rather be down in the kitchen and where the cookies are. So
Okay.
why don't we take a short break and we'll come right back and be in the kitchen. Well, we're back with Cookies from the Heart, and I think that sign on the wall explains everything. And this is the secret room where all the great cookies are baked. Debbie, you might explain about the sign up there. I've not seen neon signs in someone's basement before.
Well, it's kind of special. Actually, Susan Castle gets a lot of credit for that sign. When I was in the early stages of designing this kitchen, after it was pretty well done, she said, Debbie, I think you need a neon sign. And so I just happened to know somebody in Des Moines that made them, and I sent them a copy of my business card, and they made it for me. So it kind of adds
That's
some
a
color.
cheery sign. Even at 4 in the morning, that would make you wake up, wouldn't it?
Yes, that's right. It helps.
Well, you can't help but notice that you do have a few cookies on the counter.
Right.
Were these baked this morning?
These were all baked this morning, and most of them are going to be delivered when we're finished here today. Just going to various places.
Well, I really came dressed for the occasion, expecting to have to bake cookies,
You look nice, Bob.
This morning.
in that.
and I have this apron. But there's no dough out.
There's no
What's the
dough
story?
out. Well, I decided that while you were here, I would not bake cookies. I've already been baking this morning, but I'm pretty much done while you're here because my wonderful oven over here makes a lot of noise, and I didn't think you probably wanted to listen to that. So
Oh,
you might like to know how I arrived at this design for this kitchen.
I certainly would.
Well, when I started, I immediately went to a commercial kitchen designer in Iowa City. And when I took him the dimensions of my room, he just kind of smiled real nicely and nodded his head. And I kind of thought, he's used to designing entire restaurants. This was just so small for him. So I told him, I said, don't you worry about it. We'll see what we can do. So my husband and I came home, and this was a storage room. And we took everything out of it and just started drawing different designs on the floor with chalk because we wanted to see which was the most efficient design. And this is the design that we arrived with. And then I had the construction people come in, and after several months, this was the finished product. All the time that I was under construction, the inspector had to come and make sure that the paneling was attached properly and that I installed this little hand sink, and there's certain things that they require you to have. That's kind of interesting too, because at the time when I decided to sell commercial, they told me that I would definitely have to have a separate kitchen. I could not be doing it out of my home, my family kitchen. So that helped me make this decision, as well as the fact that things were starting to grow and I knew I needed more space. The law has since changed back the other way. It was kind of funny because the day that the inspector came for the final inspection, he said to me, "You're not going to believe this, but now the law has switched back the other way and you can bake out of your family kitchen." I was not disappointed, believe me, because I wanted out of there. My kitchen upstairs was a constant mess, and down here it's away from things, and it just works out real well. And then, as you can see, there's no windows, and so that's why I decided to go with all white, so it would be nice and bright. At 4 in the morning, it helps to have something real
It certainly would.
bright to look at. But so that's how I, basically arrived, and then I got in touch with a man here in Fairfield who had a lot of expertise in chocolate. The only kind of chocolate I knew was the chocolate that we buy at our grocery stores. There's many, many other kinds out there. And he was very helpful. He told me about the different companies, and I wrote to them and told them my intentions. And they sent very generous samples back. And then I gathered a few friends around, and we had little tasting parties to see which
boy.
chocolate was the best, because I decided I was going to have a premium cookie. I just didn't want just any cookie. I wanted a cookie with really good ingredients. So I feel like I've got the best chocolate that I can get.
That's great. What's the first thing you do? Let's just kind of walk through without doing the actual baking, but What's the first thing you do when you come down here in the morning? You go over to one of the freezers and might just show us what you do in the morning. You take out the cookie dough and...
You don't want me to get the cookies
Sure,
out.
let's go over and drag
all
out
right.
one of those.
Well, actually, I put this out like the night before in the wintertime when it's so cold. I just bring these tubs, I mix it in these tubs, and I just line all these tubs up along here. And this mixer is a 20-quart mixer, and it fills one of these containers.
So how often do you have to make the cookie dough?
Well, I mix
Daily
cookie
or
dough about every day.
every day?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So,
So one of these containers goes in the mixer.
that's right. That's right. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
And you have 13 varieties of cookies in there?
13 varieties.
Wow.
That's right.
So what about this? This is not your typical at-home mixer that Marty uses or anybody else uses that I know of.
Well, I'll tell you, I always believed that you had to mix cookies with a bowl and a spoon. That's why I didn't think you could ever get good cookies from a mixer. So when I started, I used a crock bowl and a wooden spoon. The wooden spoons, you know, have round handles. And it wasn't long that I was getting quite a blister on my hand, and my husband said, "You're going to have to get something else." So he bought me this 5-quart KitchenAid, which is nice, but then that soon wasn't big enough either. So there was a deli up in Coralville that was going out of business, and I just felt very fortunate. I bought this piece of equipment used, but I've had it for 11 years, and
It's
I get
still
it
running.
serviced, and it's still going. It's a great machine. It really is.
Well, when you put your cookie dough in there, how long does it take for the cookie dough to be ready to
Go.
go?
Not very long. As quick as I can get
5
the
minutes?
ingredients in there. Yeah, it's ready to go. It's ready to go.
Okay, you've made the cookie dough, you store it in the freezer, then you bring it out, and we have cookies on the counter this morning, but this is where you probably do your work on the cookies, is that correct?
That's right. I stand right where you're standing, and these are the trays I use, and 5 of those fit into the oven at a time, and the oven...
We're going to go over the oven in just a
wanna go
few
over the
minutes.
oven? Okay.
In a few minutes.
Okay, all right. Well, I just basically dip the dough. Dipping the dough is probably the slowest process. And,
What is dipping the dough?
well, I use a scoop. I just scoop it out and put it on the cookie sheets.
You're not supposed to use your fingers
No, no.
like I do at home.
Like you do it now? No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
So I use a scoop, and then I fill these trays, and then I load them onto this rack, and then I turn my oven on, and the process begins. This cooks the cookies very, very fast.
And then when you're finished with the baking in your convection oven, the cookies are brought where? Over to this counter?
No, actually, I put
Or we're
them
back
back
in the
on
rack.
here to cool, and then I just load them, you know, however they're going to be delivered on whatever trays or containers or whatever.
Okay, well, what about the rest of your kitchen here? You have a very convenient working area here, it looks like to me.
It is handy. This whole island here is completely, there's no shelves in it, so there's various sizes of containers in there. And, you know, when I built this kitchen, I thought I had lots of space, but then I realized I didn't have the space for the actual containers that the products come in. So my chocolate comes like in 45-pound boxes, so all that is stored. I have another area over here that I store it all in. So then I have plastic, big tall plastic containers in here that I take it from the boxes and load in here. And it makes it easier to use while I'm mixing.
Great.
You want to see my oven?
Sure.
All right.
We're going to take a break and come right back and take a look at this. Well, we're back, and this is where the cookies are baked. So explain to us how this oven works. This is not an ordinary oven.
No, it's not. It is one great machine, I'll tell you. When I first started my business, this is the piece I researched the most. I asked several different cookie shops about ovens that they thought were good. And in the malls, they can use convection, but they have to use electric convection. And they said if we could do it the way we want to do it, we'd use gas, because they just like the way gas baked. So I got in touch with Hawkeye Food Systems in Coralville, and they said they had a complete demonstrator kitchen up there, and they said just bring your dough up and you can bake till your heart's content on these ovens But the only thing is you have to leave the finished product with us. And I said, that's a deal, I'll do it. So I did. I took my dough up to Coralville and I baked on this oven. And of course, that immediately sold me. It's a great machine.
What's the difference between this oven and the oven that we all have in our homes?
Well, I'll show you. There's no coil in this oven. You can probably see that. There's just a blade back there that circulates hot air. So the hot air just rotates around the cookies. You know, at home when you put a tray of cookies in, sometimes the bottoms get real dark and the tops are not done yet. Well, it's pretty hard to burn them in here because there is no coil. It's just that hot air circulating all the time. So this oven bakes 150 cookies at a time. And the nice thing about it is you can lower your temperature a little bit and also lower your cooking time. So it cooks about 150 cookies in about 6 minutes. So that's pretty fast. So it definitely is a great machine.
So how many times do you cook in here in the morning?
How many times?
How many loads do you put in here in the morning?
Oh boy, I start at 4 and I try to be through baking by 8:30 or 9. And it's going constant all that time. Especially this time of year. This is the time of year when people are busy and they don't have time to bake cookies, and so they call me.
And as if you have all the time in the world.
Well, but then again, that is my business.
That's right.
And I really do love my business. People will say to me, I don't like to bake cookies. How can you stand to bake cookies? And I said, I love baking cookies. I said, you know, if I didn't, I wouldn't be in the business, because you have to love it. There's no doubt about it. And you have to be a self-starter. You have to be able to get up in the morning and get going, because nobody's going to push you into it.
So what do you do when you want to take time off?
I just take time off. That's what I do.
So everybody's out of luck that is used to having the cookies every day.
My commercial accounts are very, very nice to me, and when I tell them I'm going to take a break, they say, have fun, we'll see you when you get back.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at a little bit more over here in your kitchen.
Whoops. There we go.
We were noticing a little earlier, what are all the slips of paper on the wall?
Well, those are my orders for the holidays, and I have to keep them right there where they're in plain sight, so I don't forget anybody. Those are all private orders. I might tell you, this year I got the biggest private order I've ever had, and it's been quite a challenge. Business ordered 205 dozen.
205 dozen?
Yes. And that may not sound like a lot, but that's one order.
Not for one day.
Well, they're very nice. They need 35 dozen this Saturday, which I'm able to take care of, but the rest of them I can do them as I have time to do them. So that is the nice thing about it. But you probably notice from looking at the cookies here, there's a couple different sizes.
Yes, and they're all wrapped differently and packaged differently.
These
what are the ones in the cellophane packages?
Those are the minis, and those are going to a Christmas party where they're going to give each one of their employees one of these little bags. They hold a dozen, and the minis. Actually, when I started my business, I was making all the cookies this size.
You know, it's getting pretty tempting.
Would you like?
Which one has no nuts?
This one is special for you.
Oh, this one. Okay.
Just plain chocolate chip. Enjoy.
Can't resist. Go ahead.
You can eat while I talk.
You go ahead and talk.
All right. Anyway, that was the size all the cookies were. And then I can't remember how I got into it, but I started making the smaller cookies, which are the minis. And these have been real popular. Like, I've done them for weddings, receptions, parties, any place where there's going to be other food. They're just really a nice size because people can have something sweet and not feel like they have to eat a whole big cookie. And
this is a meal.
That's right. These are a little less guilt in these.
Boy.
So.
And there is chocolate chip in here.
Oh, yes. There's chunks of chocolate in there. Yes.
Well, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. How many cookies can you put in one of these large containers?
Well, those big trays are 5 dozen. And that is part of that big order I was telling you about. They ordered 16 of those trays. So I might tell you.
That will keep you busy.
Yes. Well, it keeps me very busy. Like I said, tis the season.
Excuse me, you were going to say something else.
I know.
And I interrupted.
Well, I'm trying to think. Oh, I might tell you about my suppliers, where I get my products.
Okay.
I get a lot of my chocolate comes into a warehouse up in North Liberty, and they also supply me with all my flour and all my sugar. And I've been an account of theirs long enough now that I get free delivery. They bring it to me. I don't have to go pick it up, which is so nice. And then I get a lot of my nuts and my raisins and coconut and things like that come from a supplier in Illinois. And then I buy my butter and my eggs local.
Well, in addition to all this work with Cookies from the Heart, you still maintain a household, and you and your husband have raised some children, and you're going to be taking a break after Christmas, I understand?
I am. That is one thing that I just keep out there in front of me during this time, because it just does get very, very busy. But right after, I usually quit baking cookies a couple days before Christmas so I can get ready for the holidays for our family. And then we will take a break right after Christmas for about 10 days.
And you're headed for?
I'm going to go to Montana to see my daughter. Yes,
That's right.
And her husband. We're very excited about that.
It'll be a great trip, and you'll get to see some beautiful country out there.
I think we will.
Have you been out there before?
We've been there before, but never when it snowed. So we're going to get to see, hopefully, lots of snow.
And I assume maybe you'll ship some cookies out there.
Well, they'll actually be lucky if they get any. I'll tell you, my family is the last person to have cookies, if you can believe it. Everybody else gets them first. So, but it is a fun business, and I just, anybody that's ever thinking about starting a business, I mean, it has to come with a thought, and then you just kind of follow your dream, and if you believe in your heart you can do it, you can do it.
Well, Debbie, you've done a great job, and we thank you for allowing us into your kitchen. I think this is the first time a TV camera's been down here, isn't it?
You're right. It's been wonderful having you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And this is our holiday edition of Chamber Talk, and we hope you've enjoyed your tour of Cookies from the Heart. So thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next edition.